All right. Hey, everybody. Brenda here from Success for Business. I hope we're coming in loud and clear. I've got Scott Tilbury here today from Tilbury Training, and we're going to talk about sales. Everything you've ever wanted and not wanted to know about sales, that's what we're going to talk about. Welcome, Scott.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me,
Yeah,
Brenda.
thank you. I hope everybody can hear us. Maybe just give me a thumbs up, or you're coming in loud and clear, or turn up your volume. I don't know. Anyway, Scott, it's great to have you here today. You've got quite a background in sales and training, extensively. So tell us a little bit about your background.
My background, I started in business about 35 years ago. I actually started as a broadcaster.
Okay.
So through broadcasting, I met a lot of people, and it opened doors for me to communicate with businesses. Trust is very, very important.
Yeah, I would imagine.
In building a business and closing sales, and that really helped me. But I instantly doubled my income when I moved into sales.
Really?
From broadcasting.
Yeah.
I did television sports, which was a lot of fun. I was a director of news and public affairs for a radio station, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, I bet.
But I needed to make more money in order to support my dear wife.
Right. Because, yes, wives need to be supportive, right? Supported.
Absolutely. So I worked for several companies, including 3 Fortune 500 companies, in a sales capacity. I was always an overachiever. I was never a 250%er. So for those that are listening today, if they're expecting a 250%er, whoa, no, not me. I believe strongly in consistent overachievement.
Yeah.
In order to be consistent, it would be very important, obviously, to plan properly, forecast properly, and execute properly.
Right.
Build relationships, and so on. So I worked in sales for a number of years. In 1999, I was hired by a company called Pitney Bowes of Canada.
Oh, like we haven't heard of them, hey?
As their director of training and development. And so I worked there in that capacity for 14 years.
And how many were under you there?
Oh my goodness, under me. We didn't look at it that way.
Okay.
I trained over 4,000 people when I was there. I was responsible for developing training for 20 different managers across the country, and I would have to travel and help support not only them but their salespeople. So I did that for a number of years, and then the company asked me to start doing a competitive online workshop on how to defeat the competition. So I did that for a number of years.
Okay.
And my role expanded south of the border into the United States. I started traveling to New York City, Orlando, San Francisco. But then my wife was asking me if I was still her husband. And my kids were asking if I was still their daddy, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure.
I decided that it was time, with my kids getting a little older, in high school, that they needed a dad at home. My wife needed support, and as passionate as I was, I needed to stop. So then I accepted a job as a branch manager in Edmonton for Ricoh. Helped grow sales over 30%. I had a budget of about $4.5 million there. And then my wife said, no, I don't want to move to Edmonton. So, and I was commuting the whole time from this area to Edmonton.
Wow.
My wife and I decided we wanted to stay in central Alberta. So Shine FM hired me to be their general manager. And over 18 months, we grew sales by about 130%.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the times led to a layoff for me.
Right.
But challenges can lead to opportunities. I started up my own business called Tilbury Training and Consulting. It's always been a dream of mine to do that. And I'm helping businesses right now in Alberta, regionally rather than all over the country.
Right.
And I'm having a blast doing it.
And keeping your wife happy.
Yeah, I'm at home
right.
at night, right, for the most part.
Yeah.
So there's an occasion when she wants me to. You can go. I'd like some free time, but she's probably watching right now. I'll be in trouble when I get home. But yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's all
it
good.
is. Yeah, absolutely.
So I know I don't have a sales background, so I'm one of these people that are scared to death about cold calling and all that stuff. But one thing that I keep hearing more and more about is sales funnels. Get your funnel in place, or, pipelines. Like, what is it? I kind of get it, but I think it'd be better coming from you. Can you explain sales funnels and pipelines?
Well, if you don't have a sales funnel or a pipeline, you're not organized. If you have an organization that, and I don't mean to offend any individual that's watching this right now, but if your organization does not have a plan in place to have a sales pipeline or a funnel, let me encourage you to get one. It's very, very, very important. So what is a sales funnel? It primarily is, it complements your pipeline. It basically represents the steps of a sales process and the opportunities that you have identified. So if you're out cold calling, you're visiting customers, you're identifying opportunities, if they are committed, if they plan to do something with your organization, then you typically will put it in your funnel, you put it in your pipeline, and you will forecast it using a specific percentage. So for example, if you're early on in the sales process, your probability of closing that business might only be 10%. Right?
Okay.
20%. It depends on your relationship, depends on the answers you have from the customer. It depends on there's how long it takes for a business to say yes. Are you at the point of thorough investigation with the customer? If you're at that point and they have committed and they have identified their desired outcomes, for example, you probably increase the percentage of closing ratio, by another 40-50%.
So is funnel synonymous with pipeline?
Absolutely.
Oh, it is. So it means the same thing.
Pretty much.
Okay. Because
now every company will call it different. Our sales pipeline.
Right.
Our funnel. So envision a funnel, and salespeople put opportunities in the top of the funnel.
Right. Right.
and with hopes that it will come out as a sale at the very bottom. Unfortunately, and I don't want to offend anybody by this statement, funnels get clogged.
Yeah.
They get clogged up with a lot of crap.
Right.
Is that the terminology I have used in the past to
Yeah.
describe that? And when your funnel gets clogged with non-opportunities, uncommitted customers,
Right.
that's when salespeople forecast improperly. And then companies forecast improperly. They don't meet their goals. So it's very important to follow the sales process, identify the opportunities, build that relationship to the point where they agree that they need to do something about their problem.
Okay.
So oftentimes an opportunity will go in the funnel. But as a salesperson goes through the investigation process, if they don't quantify the need to the point where the customer says, yes, I have to do something about this, is it really an opportunity? Are they planning to do anything about it? The greatest challenge of most salespeople during a difficult economy is forecasting poorly.
Right.
They don't want their boss to know that the opportunity that they're forecasting is not going to amount to anything. Managers, leaders of organizations want to know you're doing well. Budgets are set, goals are set. And if I'm below my plan, there's many other people out there that an organization can bring in to help meet the goal.
Right. Exactly.
So the greatest challenge today is to get customer commitment. So I'll tell the story. I shared this story at Success for Business Expo. I was called to go to Halifax, Nova Scotia by a sales manager because individual salespeople were struggling closing sales. So I asked him, I said, are you sure you want me to come out? Because what I'm planning to ask your salespeople, they might feel a little uncomfortable about.
Right.
And He agreed to allow me to ask each salesperson to identify their most problematic client that they're currently working with, and to be ready to share the complete history of their involvement with that client from the opening call to where they are now.
Okay.
And to allow everyone in the room to scrutinize the history of their dealing with those clients.
Right.
And he agreed to it. We went through the process. There were 12 individual salespeople that shared their challenges on flip charts on the wall, and over 90% of the clients that were on the wall, the reason for not closing the business was because of a lack of commitment.
Right.
Every individual salesperson agreed. We strategized, talked about, okay, where do we go from here? Everyone pretty much admitted it was time to start again. So there are keys at the beginning of a sales process to identify before forecasting them.
Okay.
So Matt, their funnel, I don't want to describe what he called their funnel, but as a result of that session that was conducted out in Halifax, over 40% of the forecasted business was removed. 40%.
Wow. Wow.
That's a gutsy
gutsy
move for a manager to do when he was reporting to a vice president of sales in Toronto.
Right.
And he's been forecasting that amount for a long period of time.
Wow. So is there, there's software to help people with all this, right? Like Salesforce is one of them. What are two other software that you would recommend?
I'm sorry,
or is it all done manually?
You could do it manually.
Okay.
There's so many
so
different softwares out there. Some organizations have their own. They develop their own.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, cool. So a question that came to light from somebody I was talking to before, they asked the question, what's worse, not making quota every month or not having happy customers? What's worse?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. As a salesperson, if I'm on straight commission, I'm going to be very honest. Not making quota. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm not making quota, I'm not going to be happy. It's pretty hard to.
And your boss isn't going to be happy.
And he's not going to be happy. And I'm not going to walk with confidence in the door of a client. So I'm being very honest.
Yeah, no,
if I'm not
awesome.
making quota on a monthly basis, I'm not going to be happy. But it is very important to have happy customers.
Yeah.
If I was
or they won't come back.
Or they won't come back. If I was on primarily a salary within an organization, then happy customers are very, very obviously they're probably number one.
Yeah.
Because you want to ensure that they continue to be happy. You want them to give you referrals. You want them to give you references. You want to grow your partnership. You want to grow the revenue potentially from that customer, and it will lead to acquiring new customers.
Right.
And inevitably, if you have happy customers, okay, and you're working with them to grow revenue, it will lead to sales growth, and you will meet your quota, and you will be consistent. So.
Okay.
That's my answer to the question.
That's good.
I don't know if that's
helpful. Any listeners out there have any questions, just type them in the comment box and we'll read those off. I had a lot of questions in sales and I had actually some people email them in to me. So I'm just going to read some while we're waiting or whatever. But another thing that you can help me with is how much time should a person work towards cultivating their relationship with their current customers versus getting new customers all the time? Like, what's that fine balance?
Very good question. A lot depends on your business plan. A lot depends on the number of customers that you have that make up your current quota.
Right.
But the way I look at it is this. It's important for every salesperson to have a good balance in their business plan. I use the following words: protect, grow, and acquire.
Protect, grow, and acquire.
Right. So it's important to protect the current clients that you have. There's always spillage every year. Clients will, for some reason, decide that they don't want to do business with you anymore. So in anticipation of that, of course, it's important that you hunt to restore restore what's lost, or potentially what could be lost.
Right.
So protecting your clients, maintaining that relationship, growing that relationship to the point that if another salesperson from another company walks in that door,
right,
they will not penetrate your relationship.
Right. That's important.
Incumbents win 80% of the time if the relationship is strong. Therefore, it's very important to ensure that you're growing that relationship. Unfortunately, a lot of salespeople take their customer relationships for granted.
Right.
So how often are you visiting your current customer?
Yeah.
So what I typically do when I qualify a client, I ask them, how often would you like to see me?
Right. Oh, okay.
How often would you like me to connect with you? Would you like me to connect with you in person over lunch once a year, once a quarter, and occasionally through email, by telephone? How would you like to connect on a regular basis?
Okay.
And I'd make it a practice that I touch base with them. I put a plan together, schedule it in my day timer to go and see them at respective times. As they're planning, perhaps, for their next year budget, okay, they typically start 3 to 6 months in advance. Some companies a year in advance. And they oftentimes, if I'm a trusted advisor, they're going to want me to be there early because they might consult with me and ask me questions, and then I'll provide answers.
Right.
So I want to do that. Secondly, obviously, it's imperative to go after the competition. I play sales like a game of Risk. I don't know if you ever play the game of Risk.
Love Risk.
I love Risk.
Yeah.
So domination. I like to dominate.
Right.
I don't communicate that with customers. I'm communicating that with fellow salespeople. That it's important to identify your current state and what you own and the potential for growth. And then you strategize, specifically identifying targets, and you spend the most time going after those targets. How do you do that? Well, you could some do it through cold calling. But a lot of people are very difficult to get a hold of today.
Yeah.
So many of the key people that you're trying to get a hold of oftentimes will go out to our networking events or they're involved with things in the community. Hey, there's no gatekeeper there.
Yeah,
you can walk right up to the person, right?
Exactly.
So there's ways to go about that. So I believe strongly in growing through maintaining or growing that current relationship and going after new business on a regular basis, consistently. The reason I was a consistent overachiever is because every day I would farm, I would cultivate that current client, and I would also schedule acquiring calls on the same day. I have a wonderful relationship with my clients. I'm walking out the door happy, engaged, thrilled, with a smile on my face, and then I go make a call on a potential customer. Well, my demeanor is a whole lot better when I do it that way.
Yeah. You're going into the call with a smile on your face, and you're pumped. And
the challenge today, the mistake I believe that salespeople make, is that I'm going to schedule 1 day this month or 2 days this month that I'm going to go after new customers. Guess what rarely happens?
You procrastinate.
I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do it. I'll do it later in the afternoon.
Right. No, I don't want to be rejected.
I'll do it at 4 o'clock.
That's right. And then 4 o'clock comes and you get invited out, through a colleague or something else comes up. It's always easier to find something to do. Right.
So I want to get back to the networking thing in a bit, but something else you said just hit me is that when you've got your competition trying to go in to your accounts, right? So I know somebody, and this is a common comment that he makes to me all the time, is that my competition puts our company down all the time. They spread rumors. They're not truths.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I don't believe in doing business that way. But a lot of my clients say that they're with this competition now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so frustrating for him, right? Because they're dissing his company.
Yeah.
And he says, we have one of the most reputable companies, but the clients, they're listening to company A instead of giving us a shot because of the rumors that company A is churning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how would you handle that?
Well, it is imperative to, again, early on, identify what's acceptable with your client. You know, what is your current relationship?
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of clients and a lot of salespeople that I know that established it early on,
mm-hmm.
that they would like me or another salesperson to walk in the door and provide them insight, to identify trends that are going in the marketplace, to talk about things that are going on in the marketplace.
But what if you don't get a chance to get through the door because of that?
I would not stop at trying.
Yeah.
It's imperative that if you anticipate objections, you need to basically ask questions of that business to get them to open up and dialogue and potentially share that information with you so that you can ask them questions back.
Yeah.
Not challenge them to the point of putting them down.
No.
But trying to gain an understanding why they feel that way or
right.
what led them to believe that way. I use this example many times. The Canadian Marketing Association said back in 2005, one of the most inexpensive ways to grow a business, cut out the traditional form of advertising and use email. Well, e-marketing back then yielded a 5% return. It's now below 0.5%.
0.5, okay.
So the perception is,
yeah.
that in that situation, it's going to yield a lot. So you know what? I'm going to dump my advertising. I'm going to change my marketing mix,
right.
and I'm going to put all my eggs in that basket. That's foolhardy.
Yeah.
That is not how marketing works today.
Right.
You need to spread it around.
Right.
So there's just one example. And typically, how would I go about that? If I know that was an issue in the marketplace, I would communicate the latest, what's going on in the marketplace. And be open to answer questions from my customer.
Be there as a resource and with integrity, right? Always.
And if you're not touching base on a regular basis, it doesn't matter who you are. There's a chance you're going to lose them as a client.
Yeah.
Do not take your customers for granted. Don't assume the sale. I know many salespeople. Oh, the lease is coming up in 5 years. I'm going to go see them. Let's see.
In 5 years.
5 years. Meanwhile, many fires have taken place. And what I mean by that is, I don't want to put down Xerox. Xerox has walked in the door. If I work for Rico, Xerox has walked in the door. Mm-hmm. They've stirred this up. They've identified, ways to improve their print management.
Right.
And meanwhile, I haven't gone in the door to talk to them about it.
Right.
Okay, who's a leader in that industry? Well, if Xerox is portraying that they're a leader, then my service might be called into question.
Right.
So anticipation, staying in contact, I call them touches.
Yes.
Customer touches on a regular basis. And it doesn't always have to be in person. Smaller sales and sales potential, you might spend less time with them. Unless, they're going to lead to potential other opportunities. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
hopefully
good.
That answers
your question. Thank you. Now to get back to the networking.
All right.
You mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to a networking event. I run the expo every October. I have a pile of cards like that. Mm-hmm. Seriously, what do you do with all the cards? Like, am I supposed to get on the phone and phone every single number to say, hey, it was good to meet you. Let me know if I can help you. Like, how do you deal with that? With all your leads at a networking event?
Well, it depends on the business that I worked for. depends on our marketing strategy as an organization. But what I would do with the cards first and foremost is research that company. Try to identify who that company was, if there was an opportunity for me doing business with them. Understand their hierarchy.
Right.
Who was the person that placed the card? Are they the right contact? It might be a good starting point. They may be a good individual to phone up and say, thanks for coming to...
A touch. Just a
touch.
touch. Yeah.
Thanks for coming to Success for Business Expo.
Yeah.
Right? Can you help me? Can you help me understand, how are decisions typically made within your organization? Second question, what are you doing really well as an organization right now? And potentially, what are your challenges?
Right.
What you're trying to do is you're trying to fish for opportunity.
Right.
Should I pursue them further?
And is it okay to do that through email, or do you have to get on the phone?
Email to me is very impersonal. Okay, so I'm just giving you my opinion. Personal touches are always the best. We live in an age where this is becoming extremely impersonal.
Yeah.
And to build a very strong relationship with clients, it's important that there's body language involved.
Right.
And people can see you. And anyway, I have an opinion. I'm pretty old school that way, but I'm seeing that more and more. To have effective communication and grow a proper relationship, it's important to get together. The phone is better than email because you can hear tone. You can see a smile.
If they'll take your call.
Yeah, if they'll take the call. That's a challenge, right? Yeah. So there's several ways to go about it. Depends on your company approach.
I never feel like I want to waste somebody's time.
That's right.
Right? With the phone call. Like I'm calling, just for nothing, to say hi.
Yeah, trying to get through to, and not to say hi, if you do your research, and you identify there's a potential opportunity, they may not see that there's an opportunity for new business. They may have tunnel vision. They believe they have all the answers. You might have an idea that they do. You need to earn the right, to book an appointment with them. Simply book an appointment to get them to know them a little bit, to see if there is an opportunity.
Right. Because
you perhaps have been able to help another organization grow their business by 10% or 15% or whatever. Sure. You might even have a name to reference and identify a time, a commitment to time, book a time with them and get together. And it may be in person, it may be by telephone. And it may be not at that moment when you speak to that person.
Right.
Can I phone you at 1 o'clock? Can I phone you at a time that you have your desk kind of cleared off so we can have a discussion?
So this kind of leads into a question. I'm throwing you a bunch of curveballs here.
Oh, it's okay. That's okay. Sorry.
But I know a lot of people out there, myself included. How do you get past the gatekeeper? Whether it's through the phone or in person when you're making a cold call. I think as a small business entrepreneur, that's the number one fear that entrepreneurs have.
Absolutely.
Is how to get past that gatekeeper. So it's really easy to go, oh, I won't do it now. No, I'll do it tomorrow. And they make up excuses. I know. So how do you do it?
Wow. I was fortunate to work in a consultative role for one of the largest call centers in Canada. Yeah. I was at Pitney Bowes. And I helped coach them to change their philosophy and how to approach business by phone, because we had our telemarketing people there. And I reviewed with them the purpose of a cold call, the purpose of a phone call. Too many people have a wrong idea of what the purpose is. The purpose of a cold call, the purpose of a phone call is to book an appointment, or it is to identify if there's an opportunity for doing business. You can do that through questioning. So that takes the fear out of it. And if you want to learn more about this, you could Google Keith Rosen, Rosen, through YouTube. And he has a few videos, just short little videos on this subject about what the purpose of a cold call is. Google what a purpose of a cold call is. And if it's in your mind that the purpose of a cold call is I'm going to get in there and speak to that person, what are the chances of that happening? That's an unrealistic goal. Yeah. So it's no wonder I'm afraid. Right. I don't want to be rejected. No, if I'm walking in on a cold call, number one, I want to seek assistance. I want to seek help. Can you please help me? I'd like to identify who the key decision maker is, appropriate to who I need to speak to, get the name, ask, if they are responsible for booking his or her appointments, ask them, what's the best way to get in touch with them.
But they always want to know what it's about.
Sure, absolutely. So I call it GAS, okay, a general advantage statement. The objective would be, number one, when you go to a call, it's no different. How do you feel when someone comes up to your door?
Right.
Well,
yeah.
And what they're selling. Number one, you want to know who they are. So you introduce yourself, you identify who you're with, and you identify the purpose. Purpose is, this is how easy it is. The purpose of my call is to set, I'm just going to sound robotic here. The purpose of my call is to book an appointment with John Smith.
Right.
Right? Can you help me with that?
Can you help me with that?
Right? And they may, and you have to be prepared. What's it about?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what's in it for them?
Right.
So what's in it for them? Are you going to start pitching and start selling? Wrong. So that's why it's so important that you spend more time researching a client before you walk in the door.
Okay. And if you can't get the receptionist on your side, then you're dead. You're dead in the water, right?
Well, at that moment. It's not, I never count a call a failure, ever. As a salesperson, remember, the purpose of a cold call is to try to book an appointment.
Yes.
Okay? Or to identify information if there's an opportunity for doing business. So I'm gathering evidence. I'm kind of like a Sherlock. Okay? They're a suspect to me right now. So I'm walking in the door, sniffing around, trying to figure out if there's an opportunity. So any question that I could ask, just to get a little bit more information I can't gather on the website,
right,
is extremely helpful. Now I'm trying to build a case. Should I continue? Well, if you watch crime shows or investigator shows, or you're old like me, Matlock. Wow, goodness! Now I'm dating myself. They typically would not pursue a suspect any further if they don't have evidence.
Right. Okay.
So gather the evidence. If the gatekeeper's not going to help you, there's other ways. Be patient. If you believe there's an opportunity for doing business, don't stop. Identify someone else to talk to.
Right. Right. Okay, that's cool.
Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I think so. I think it does.
And on the phone, when I was at Pitney Bowes, we encouraged our telemarketing staff to start booking appointments. So, hi, I'm phoning on behalf of, you're a current client with us. I have a number of questions. What time would work best for me to call you back? And it'd be possible if you'd be near a computer so we can go through things. And that's when they would typically send something to them on their computer and then share information rather than just sending them information. And typically when that happens, the customers will read it and not call you back.
Right.
Right. So we just changed how we did things. We live in a permission-based society.
Right.
Time is money, and people want you to respect their time.
Okay. So, say you get a no. You can't see John Doe. How many no's? Is there a percentage of how many no's you can count on before you get a yes?
Oh my!
Is there a typical answer to that?
You could Google this. Sorry, there is. It depends on the industry. Are you in a transactional business? Is your product considered a commodity, or it's perceived to be a commodity when it isn't?
Right.
There's a lot of there's different ratios. Really, my answer to that question is I would continue. I prefer no over maybe or silence.
Because you know where they stand.
Absolutely. So my goal would be to get the customer to say no. Honestly, I would. I'd rather them say no to me than waste my time.
But then do you walk away or do you continue to sell them?
No, it's just no at this time.
Get them to change no at this time.
It's no at this time. They may not see. There's a lot of organizations that may not see the value in what you have to offer. You haven't spoken about it necessarily, or they perceive that there isn't value right now. They can't see the forest through the trees because they don't see it as a problem. The goal of a salesperson is to get the customer to identify that they believe there is a problem,
Okay.
and they want to do something about it. For example, how many of you listening here today have a problem? Okay, you have 20, 30, 40. Okay, how many problems are you dealing with right now? Okay, what would prompt you to deal with one of your problems? Okay, because it's really hurting, and it's really impacting your health, or it's impacting something.
Mm-hmm.
So you have identified that you have to do something about it.
Right.
Well, it's a good thing if I was a salesperson just walking in the door at that right moment.
Right.
That's fantastic.
At that right moment.
But that rarely happens.
Okay.
Vice president of a company or president of a company oftentimes will research a need well in advance of that. And then they, unfortunately, here's the challenge for salespeople, they'll reach out to who they want to reach out to.
Right.
And now they're so along in the sales process, by the time they reach out to you, they want a price. Don't give them the price.
Don't give them the
no,
price?
No, absolutely not. You need to ask questions. You need to qualify them first, because you're the expert of your product. You know what your product is all about, and what the values are in your product. Before you give them the price, you need to understand a little bit. You need to go back and revisit and qualify the customer to ask them why they're looking at something like that.
Okay, but isn't there a fine line?
Now it's getting complicated. Yeah, there's a fine line, of course there is. We need another
Yeah.
broadcast to go through that. We need a whole broadcast to go through that.
Because you don't want to tick people off by withholding the price, because nothing makes myself madder than, I just want to know what the price is. Quit trying to sell me. I want to know what the price is.
It's anywhere from $1 to $50,000. Okay. You know what? No, there's a way to deal with it, Brenda.
Yeah.
The way to deal with it, and it depends how comfortable you are. John, thank you very much for calling. I really want to give you an answer to your question, but we have about 10 different options here, and I'm not sure which one to propose.
Gotcha.
I'm not a GP. I'm not a general practitioner. General practitioners, typically, when you go and you have a pain, they'll write out a prescription, give it to you, and you walk out the door. A specialist will ask more questions, dig a little deeper. So I'm kind of like a specialist. Okay. I just need to understand a little bit more, because right now, what you're asking me, I could propose anything from $100 to $500 or whatever the product is.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So it's also testing them to see, why did you call us today? Why are you considering us? Right. So you need to ask some questions. You need to understand their decision-making process, when they're making a decision. Oftentimes, the people that call aren't the decision maker at all. They're just the information gatherer.
Right.
So then you give information and you don't hear back from them, and oftentimes they waste your time. So that's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying to be as blunt as I was earlier. Nope, can't have the price. That was what
no, I know.
No, that's what's inside my head right now. Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry.
So if you're getting a lot of pushback to your pitch or your company in general, what's the best way to approach that, to turn it around? Do you have any good suggestions?
Don't propose a solution too soon. That's number one. Too many salespeople fall into what I call the pre-proposal trap. So they seek closure before they have enough I mentioned this at Success for Business as well, before they seek enough small C commitments. Okay. And so, number one, do you know who the decision maker is? Do you know what their process is? Do you know how long they typically take before they decide? Do they know? Do you know whether they go through a board? Do you know how many other people are involved? A lot of companies now are sourcing out decisions to committees within an organization,
right?
And that makes it difficult. I'm talking about the bigger sales. Do they have the budget? What number is in their mind?
Right.
If you want print management software, there's small, very inexpensive ones that you could pay by month, okay? And there's ones that are $50,000 to $100,000 to $200,000.
Right.
So you need to find out what their budget is. They may be just budgeting without any commitment. When will the decision be made? And so on. There's a number of things to find out. Yeah.
And it's probably beneficial if you know that personality type you're dealing with.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Oh, my goodness.
Because some people want to make a decision right now, and others need to sleep on it, and they're not going to commit to anything.
That's fine.
Whereas others need to, tear it apart technically to make sure everything is there. I don't know.
What information can I provide you that would help you come to a conclusion sooner rather than later?
Right.
You know, who are you proposing this to? What day? Okay, it's Friday. Okay, so when do you anticipate you'll have a decision on this? Okay, I want to let you know that the door is open to come back. If you have any other questions in the meantime, I'm here. If you have a problem, if I've forgotten something today, if I send it off to you, you kind of leave the door open, right? To go down that road. But you asked the question about presentation. Asking your client or whoever is involved in the presentation some questions to gain feedback at the end of it is key. Checking in sales is very important as you go through your presentation as well. If it's set up appropriately, that you are in a presentation identifying with your customer rather than positioning yourself first, that makes a big difference. Right. What do I mean by that? So if the presentation is to ABC Company, have you taken the time to identify in your presentation slides, or however you're presenting it, what you have learned about the current state and their desired outcomes? Mm-hmm. And have you basically gathered enough information through your research to include names within the organization that have agreed with what you're about to propose as a solution? Mm-hmm. So you need to build your case, you need to position your case appropriately, and you need to review with the customers you're presenting whether you're still on the same page. You need to ask, has anything changed? And you know what? You may not need to go any further with your presentation. Don't show them the slide with the money on it, because you might have to go back. And that's okay. I'd rather not show them that, than to make a big mistake. Because once you let the cat out of the bag, well, let's face it. You go shopping today at a car dealership. As soon as that car salesman gives you the price, now what do? I'm asking her questions now.
As soon as he gives me the price, I stop listening.
Okay, you stop listening. Now, if you're really interested in buying the vehicle, what might you do next?
Well, I'll take it for a test drive.
Okay, sure. Okay, that might be a sign of commitment, and negotiate. You might negotiate, or say, thank you very much, I need to think about it. Right. I need to talk to my husband, or I need to talk to my wife. That's the excuse. I need to talk to my wife, right? I'm going to go and talk to her. Not good.
Right.
So be careful. If you give out the price too soon, it's going to lead to negotiation, or people will not respond. And I hate quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're revealing your cards. You're playing poker. You're going to reveal your hand to everyone, or they can read your face. You lose.
Right.
Okay. So hold your cards close to your chest. Give them ranges of price.
Right.
If they're not committed, if they're seeking a price, I can give you ranges. I'm still trying to figure out where you best fit. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that I'm proposing the right solution to you.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I just had a question come in from Jackie, Wonderful. Who is unable to join us in the live one today, but she asks, when do you stop pursuing a client? Right? So you're trying, and this client keeps kind of, dragging you forward, and you keep, there's hope there. But when do you just say enough is enough? Like,
when do I fire a client?
When do you fire a client?
When do I say that's enough? Quit wasting my time. It's happened more.
Well, are they a client yet if they haven't signed on?
Well, they potentially, sometimes they are.
Okay.
Sometimes you can have abusive clients that just keep asking you to jump beyond what you're able to provide.
Yes.
And they use you. Your prices have gone up. The cost of gasoline. You have a carbon tax now. Sorry, I brought that up. But the cost of living has gone up. The cost of operating a business has gone up, and my prices have gone up. Right. Or internationally, my prices have gone up. So I need to raise my price. Well, if the client keeps demanding, I can't spend, this is the price that I have to pay, or I'm not doing business with you, there may be a time that you will fire them. You say, sorry, I can't. Okay, you may not want to say that, but no, I want to focus more specifically on when do I actually fire generally a client. If there isn't an opportunity for doing business and they're wasting my time, using my time, there comes and there isn't a lot of opportunity, and they're not even going to be potentially be used as a reference or help me to grow my business. I'll befriend them. I'll be kind to them. I'll be very cordial, very businesslike, and I just won't call on them very much. Okay, I may, and so subtly I will slowly stop seeing them.
Yes.
And I may connect with them again at a networking event, and try to connect, focused on them, not on me, focused on their business. Right. How are they doing? Where they see their business going. Yes. To share about their successes. Right. Maybe get them to share some of their challenges. And again, what am I doing again? I'm trying to determine if there's an opportunity for doing business.
Yeah, for sure.
Because change occurs over time in business. So I can walk into your place of business today, Brenda, and today you say I have no need, and you truly might not have a need. But then say tomorrow you're no longer in charge of that, and another person comes in here and they believe in what I'm selling, or they have need of what I'm selling, and they recognize that need. Change occurs over time. Now I might be able to sell them something. So never
Close
give up,
door, hey?
because if you've properly targeted the customer for opportunity, there's a good reason why you did. But if you're just randomly going up and down the street or randomly calling clients, a great waste of time. The percentage of return is a lot lower than it was back in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, I have to say I have had to fire a client or two, and recently, just a couple weeks ago, and it is a great feeling.
It is.
It really is. It's a great feeling because you do all this work and they keep asking for more and more, and it's great if they'll pay for it.
Right.
But if they're not willing to pay for it, it's like they're taking you for granted and taking advantage. And sooner or later, there comes a time when you have to go. It's just it won't work.
Is it win-win?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Win-win-win.
Yeah.
If you're mostly the one just giving and they're taking, well, you know how that works in a marriage. Not very good, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to be a counselor today, but I'm trying to have fun.
That's a whole other.
That's a whole other subject.
Yikes!
Thank goodness I married a psychologist. Sorry.
Should have her in here next time.
Oh yeah, well.
So you are big on Twitter.
Yes.
I'm following you, right? And if you're not, you should be.
My private Twitter, you better not be following that one. Oh my goodness.
No.
Where I rant about the politics.
Oh yeah, no.
Don't follow that one.
No.
Okay, no, sorry.
But your company one, what's the handle on that? Central
Alberta Business. I also have another one at Tilbury Training, but primarily I use Central Alberta Business. So CENTALB Business. Yeah.
Okay. So that's one platform that a lot of us can use to generate sales, maybe at the end of the day. What do you think are the best ways to put our time and energy in to these social media platforms? I mean, there's so many of them. How do you know what to focus on and what to target for sales, especially sales? Is there an answer to that?
Depends what my goals are. And if I'm trying to promote my business, I typically would promote another business that exemplifies what I believe in.
Right.
I'll be very complimentary of other businesses. That creates allegiance within social media circles, rather than focusing on myself.
Right.
If there's an event coming up, I may talk about the event coming up. I may let people know that the event is coming up. Or if I'm a part of an event, with Success for Business, I mentioned it through Central Alberta Business. But I'd be very complimentary of the business that I'm attending or the event, not just about myself. I'm a part of it. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I might identify that I was there. I don't overdo it. Right. I will share, this is what I learned. Thank you, Brenda. I'm complimenting Brenda, not complimenting myself.
Right.
People appreciate that. People don't like being solicited in general. They don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there are people unfollowing if I do too much
Sure.
of that, right?
Yeah.
So I will promote myself in a way. This is, I may promote an article through Entrepreneur. I may promote an article through the Business Network or something going on. I will promote community events.
Right.
I will identify things going on in the community, encouraging other business people to get involved with that.
Yes.
A lot of businesses are willing to partner with fellow businesses who are involved in the community. And if you demonstrate really that you truly care, then they may follow you. And so that's kind of how I use social media.
So is Twitter your favorite platform? Or do you use a lot of LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, Instagram?
Okay. LinkedIn is a very good platform to make connections, through other businesses, to have those special conversations with fellow colleagues, or, to learn about other industries and so on, to gather leads. It's a good place to go. Twitter, I use Twitter mostly because I find a lot of businesses are on it, and there's a lot of current. Twitter's like the teletype of old. I'm a former broadcaster. You have current events. It's now.
Right.
It's happening
it is
now.
Yeah.
And I could use it a lot more than posting on Facebook. Okay. So,
right. Okay.
So anyway, I use Twitter mostly. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm opening the door to others as my business grows, to communicate through other mediums, through my own website. I use Instagram. You're using Facebook right now. I think this is a very valuable tool. Podcasts to identify relevant things that other people will care about.
Yeah.
And it won't point them to where they can find that information.
Yes.
Is valuable as well.
Actually, I love listening to podcasts in the morning, and there's a lot of sales related podcasts that you can learn a lot through. And when I work out, I've got my podcast on, for sure.
Wonderful, yeah.
For sure.
Okay, and I'm a political junkie, so I'm on Twitter for other reasons.
Right.
So I don't want to get into that.
We won't get into that today.
I won't. I promise. I won't. Try to have fun.
Yeah, for sure. So if somebody, this has been a tough economy. The last couple of years have been brutal in our area. If somebody's on a losing streak and they just need to turn it around, can you give some tips or some strategies or something they can do to turn their luck around?
First of all, you got to guard against denial. Okay. There are many salespeople that will deny it's their problem or they have an issue. You need to be open to carefully scrutinizing why you lost.
Are they blaming the customer?
Sometimes they're blaming the company that they work for because the price is too expensive.
Right.
Now, a lot of people are blaming the economy, but there's still top salespeople at every organization, and there are still salespeople that are just scraping by. Carefully scrutinizing why you lost,
right,
or why you're not meeting quota, is very important. What type of clients do you have in your funnel? What type of clients are you targeting? How much time are you spending with current clients that are there's no opportunity for growth right now when you need to grow? How much time are you spending seeking opportunity to acquire new customers? Remember, other salespeople are also blaming the economy, so they might not be making as many calls. Guess what? You make some more calls, properly target the calls, and identify, do proper research. Try to research the client, identify what their potential needs might be. Clue, take a look at the president's message. Take a look at the owner's message. Everyone is encouraged to march to the beat of their drum.
Right.
So is there a way that you could position yourself or gain the insightful questions prior to going and meeting with them? So proper targeting. Increasing call activity is very wise. If I'm in a slump, cold calling. I need to get back out there. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
Best thing that I ever did when I went on holidays was to put myself back out cold calling again, because I got myself back in the game right now. But that's that's the last thing most salespeople want to do when they get back from holidays.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, they're still in holiday mode, and it takes them a while to get revved up and get going. Right. No, get right back in there. Jump right in there. I typically planned a few calls on the first day when I got back. And I dealt with objections, I dealt with challenges, and so on and so forth. Or I got some good news. And it's a mindset.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Mindset's the key to defeating poor sales and getting back on track. It really is.
So one of the podcasts I listen to is Tim Ferriss. Have you heard of Tim Ferriss?
No, I'm sorry.
Well, anyway, I was listening to one of his. He's got an episode where it's the top 17 ways to change your year kind of thing, and one of them was do things differently than everybody else or than what you've done before.
Yes. And
one of the examples he used was every salesperson in his company, when he was working for somebody, would make sales calls from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Because that's when business owners are in, that's when everybody's in, right? Mm-hmm. So he thought, what if I did things differently? He did an experiment, and he made sales calls from, I believe it was 7:30 to 8:30, mm-hmm. and from 5 o'clock to 6:30. Mm-hmm. He said his funnel or whatever, his closing went, it was unbelievable about the advantage that had. And so to do things differently than what you've done before, I mean, it's just an experiment. Treat it as an experiment, right, is what he was kind of saying. And it could be a win-win for you.
I'm sure everyone following today understands SWOT, strengths, weaknesses,
right.
Opportunity, threats. You do that with clients, but you with your competition, but you also can do that with yourself. What's your strength?
Right.
What is your weakness? Mm-hmm. What are the potential opportunities based on your strengths? Now, can you best position yourself to be successful? I did silly things like this. It depends on the community you work in. I positioned myself oftentimes to create the perception that I was everywhere when I wasn't.
Sure.
Sometimes going out for lunch and connecting with clients.
Yeah.
How many people do you know from other companies that have bought you lunch ever? Right? There's so many different things that you can do. Mm-hmm. You connect with people. You get out. There oftentimes, I know people are working through lunch, but when are your clients out of their offices? Where else can you meet them?
Right.
Are you involved with the chamber? Are you involved with other organizations where you can connect?
You have to be where your clients are.
You
right?
need to be there. Yeah. And I mentioned to you the number of leads I got from Success for Business. There's two or three very solid leads. One client I'm working very closely with right now and really helping their business.
That's awesome.
But if I didn't agree to participate, I wouldn't have met him.
Yeah.
And through that individual, now that's opening other doors. So
sure.
Doing things a bit differently can be very helpful, but I can't be necessarily specific. It depends on your industry. It depends on your clientele.
Right. Well, I know.
And your goals, right?
Whoever's listening out there, if you've heard of Kim Duke speak before, she's from Edmonton, and she is called the Sales Diva, and she talks about the purple cow. Be the purple cow in the meadow.
Yeah.
Right? Just be different than all your other competitors.
Yeah. So you brought up social media. I'm using Central Alberta Business more than Tilbury Training. I will be using Tilbury Training more often. Will come. But am I focused primarily on Tilbury and Training? No, I'm not. It's connecting. It's being complementary to the Chamber of Commerce. Right?
Sure.
It's actually going and learning and anyway, connecting is so important.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So many creative ways of doing that.
So, talk to me about the importance of goal setting in sales.
Oh my goodness, goal setting. Goal setting for calls, goal setting for business planning at the very beginning of the year. It's important to have a business plan together. Many salespeople don't have one. They really don't.
Yeah.
Or if they have one, they have a number of numbers on the page, and they don't describe how they're going to go about doing it.
Gotcha.
All right. Many people don't have a business plan because they don't want to be accountable to that business plan. They don't want to
Or
fail.
because it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of
I
work.
don't mind it. I'm analytical. I like that sort of thing. I'm
not
going to
me.
investigate it, and do that sort of thing. So importance, very important to have goals. Very important. Very important to know what your targets are, what you've done in the past, to analyze the current market. If you work for an organization, you may have to adjust your plans or your promotions and be more creative and do something that no other company is doing in the marketplace. You will grow sales.
Right.
Goals, so important. Goals prior to making a call. I call, there's two different types of objectives. One is a primary and one is a secondary objective. If you go in with a goal that I'm going to sell or close the business on my first call, it's a very unwise objective.
Interesting.
Okay,
Yeah.
Primary objective would be that I want to book an appointment or gather evidence to see if there's opportunity for doing business so that later, whether by phone or in person again, I will follow up and try to book that appointment.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. The problem is most people don't have the patience. And they give up far too early.
Right. So do you believe in having your goals pasted up all over your wall or on your mirror in the bathroom? Like, do you believe in all that, or is it necessary? Like, and some people use a vision board, right?
Yeah. Some people need a Maserati right in the front desk,
Yes.
right? That's what I want.
Yeah.
Right? It depends. What motivates you, right? And if you need to put something up on your mirror, then do that. I don't. The importance for people that set goals is you need to go back to your goals and review your goals. And I used to review them. You may not like to hear this, on a weekly basis.
Weekly. Okay.
Weekly.
Okay.
And in some ways, I reviewed my daily calls at the end of each day. So I'll give you an example of that.
Okay.
So my goal today was to identify or find 2 prospects today. And I defined a prospect as a committed customer. Okay? So my goal is to convert a suspect that I identified to a prospect, a committed customer. And if the customer was committed to probably doing business, guess what? Now I can put them in my funnel.
Right. Right. Yes.
Yay, opportunity for doing business, right? But if not, I might have to, try to get 4 the next day if I don't get any today.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I'd review how many prospects did I get, and how many appointments, did I set for the following day or the following week, and how many sales were closed during that day.
Right.
So I'm reviewing, in essence, every day. And at the end of the week, I identify whether I'm reaching my goals. And there comes a point where might have to readjust your goals.
Right.
Because they might be unrealistic.
Yes.
Okay, so I believe strongly in goals.
Okay.
Very strongly in goals.
Okay. Now, getting back to prospects, what are some key questions to ask a prospect? And 2, how personal do you get?
Prior to making a call, I research a client. Very important. Now, you can't research every single one. Sometimes you're going to be spending a lot of time in your office and you never get out of your office. So that's why having a tablet or a device on you just before you walk in the door to do a quick scan on who they are, the type of business you're going in to see, the industry, who's in charge or who might be a good contact, and so on and so forth. Before I go in. Then your question again is, for some reason I lost my train of thought. What was your question?
Well, what are some of the top questions to ask a prospect, and how do you know how personal to get?
Okay, well, I would try to attempt to connect and be personal right off the bat.
How personal?
Okay, business personal.
Okay.
Give you an example. I had a sales rep in Calgary who was struggling closing business. And the individual didn't do any research prior to going to an oil field company, And it took a half an hour for us to drive down to see this client. and he was attempting to sell him more business. He didn't do the research. He didn't understand who he was dealing with. And so while waiting to see the individual, I found right in the waiting area, basically a annual review. So I looked at the annual review to identify what they did well. They grew business by 300% year over year. Here's an example. So when I walked in, I basically thanked the customer for doing business with our organization. Mr. Customer, it's a pleasure to meet you. So tell me, how'd you do it? 300% year over year. Bang, just like that.
You got him, yeah.
Got him. Now, the goal of any salesperson is to get or to create a dialogue. Too many salespeople think they're God's gift of gab.
Sure.
And they just want to talk. Now, the goal of a salesperson is to facilitate a conversation and get them to tell you what they have need of, or to tell you what they're happy about. Because you're trying to build a case.
Right.
You can't build a case unless you know where they want to go. So the key questions to ask, number one, I would like to know a little bit more about their history. So I learned a little bit about their history, and I brought up a success, and then I may ask other questions related to that. Then I will ask them, so what are your plans for this coming year? What challenges do you anticipate for the coming year? See, I'm all focused on them, right? And now I'm going to try to find some commonality. Now I could talk a little bit. Yeah, we experience challenges in those areas as well. So how do you deal with clients that are really more expensive? How do you win them? Oh, we find the same thing. So trying to build commonality. And the key questions to ask when you're qualifying a customer, and I've brought it up already, is you need to understand who the decision maker is. You need to understand how decisions are made, their timeline. You need to understand as much about their current state as possible, good or bad, and their desired outcomes. It's simple. And that's how I build training as well. I identify the gap. And are they willing to join you and go along for the ride? Are they willing to partner with you? Because if they aren't, it's going to be difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that leads into closing.
Closing.
Right?
Are we done?
Well, no, it depends on your answer, doesn't it?
Closing.
It leads into closing. And what's the number one mistake that people make while trying to close a sale?
They ask too soon.
They ask too soon.
They don't have enough commitment along the way.
Okay.
They present too soon. They have not gathered enough evidence to position the sale.
Right.
So positioning the sale, I mentioned that the key in a proposal is to review with evidence. So if I did an investigation with ABC Company and I met with Susie and John and Sally, I would quote Susie, John, and Sally, everything that they said, what they like, what they don't like, and I'd make sure that I review it in front of the CEO. Or the decision maker. Susie said this. In fact, Mr. CEO, you said this.
Right.
Has anything changed? They stated that they are losing 15%, in revenue every year because of poor warehousing or poor distribution or not delivering to the customer on time because customers are canceling their orders.
Right.
We have a problem with daily sales outstanding. And Mr. Customer, Mr. CEO, you mentioned that you want to solve that problem today. And you said the best way to do that is through whatever, software or whatever it is. Is that still your position? During our last meeting, you mentioned that you set aside about $40,000 in your budget. Is that still acceptable? Right. And you start asking questions. So I call it positioning. People need to position and not be afraid to ask once you do have a position.
Right.
But see, people don't have enough evidence. They are assuming the sale. They assume that their customer needs what they're presenting.
Right. Yes.
That's so small C commitments, I call them, gathering commitment from the customer one step at a time. So if you get to a point where they say, no, I'm not sharing that information. So they agree to have a qualifying time with you, and then they come to a point, no, you can't go see Sally, you can't go see Sue. I'll just share that information with you. That is, I would red flag that one, because they're basically pushing you away, and they're basically telling you what you have need of, but you don't have enough information to identify a solution then, because who created that information that was shared with you? Was it a competitor? Who's controlling that sale?
Right.
Okay. So now you're putting together a quote based on what a competitor has basically told the customer that they have need of. So anyway, I'm talking more complicated sales, but
yeah, no, that's interesting. I just lost my train of thought now.
Okay. Closing.
Yeah, no, because I know a lot of people are scared to be a little bit too forceful on a close, that they're going to scare off the client. A lot of people don't know how to ask for the sale. Okay. So there's that line. I know I've ran into it. Okay. Well, let me know if you want to go forward with this, and or you have until the 25th of this month, and I'm sorry, but my price is going up. Okay. Like, do you give them that sort of?
What I would do, I call it checking, all right, and trial closing. Customers indicated that they're pretty positive. They want to go ahead. They've given you buying signals. Then I would ask them questions. Are you planning to put it over in that corner? Are you planning to utilize it here? Where do you want to position? What day do you want it here? Ask questions in that relation, that to see how strongly committed they are. So checking is so important. Checking back, reviewing what you've already discussed, because things can change. So I might visit with a client, and then a competitor might walk in right after me and change their whole idea.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Change occurs, right? So it's somewhat a complicated business, but it's simplistic. It's important to follow a sales process. Qualify up front. Gain permission to conduct a thorough investigation, then position the sale through presentation, then go to close the business and follow up and take care of your customer, build that relationship. Don't just assume the sale for the next time.
Right.
But today we're dealing with an empowered buyer. So it's important to keep your eyes on that customer. That customer's process is basically this. Change occurs over time. Never forget that, right? Their need might change overnight. What typically happens, they're going to identify, they're going to have to recognize a problem first. And they're going to want to have to investigate it. Right. And then they're going to try to want to resolve it. So are you there alongside them? Too many salespeople, unfortunately, are getting involved when the customer's trying to resolve the problem. And unfortunately, salespeople are being treated like a commodity, even though their product is not commodity-based.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, thank you, Scott. Scott is on Success for Business's new mentoring platform. So go on to successforbusiness.ca. Look at some of the packages. I mean, you can book Scott from anywhere from a 90-minute talk to a 3-hour power session to a longer 6-month, a year term. Scott, you've been fantastic today.
Oh, thank you.
And I've enjoyed getting to know you more, and I know you've mentored me along the way as well on some things. So thank you for that. And I look forward to working with you again.
Thank you.
And some more with Success for Business.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you. And thanks for joining in.